Welcome everybody to Real Dad Speak. Have you ever wondered why most men seem to hide their feelings? Why they give a fist pump or a high five rather than verbally express their feeling to their children, especially their sons? Studies have suggested that most men would rather solve problems than talk about their feelings. My guest today is the opposite of those studies. He's open and honest with his feelings around his families, friends, and coworkers. We'll be talking about raising an emotionally healthy son today. According to a university study, most of the traits for an emotionally healthy person, most of them are, I'll give a few, but number one, the ability to talk to someone about their emotional concerns and share their feelings with others. Feeling content most of the time, number two. Number three, saying no when they need to without feeling guilty. Feeling that they have a strong support network. In other words, people in their life who cares about them. Number five, being able to relax. And number six, feeling good about who they are. And here to talk about those traits is a man who possesses them. And my guest today is Ed Vivarette. Hello, Ed. How are you?
Fantastic. How you doing today, Sarah?
Good. Thank you for coming on. All right, we start with your basic childhood questions. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Muskegon Heights, Michigan. I was actually born in Jackson, Mississippi, but at a young age, my parents brought me up to the state of Michigan, specifically Muskegon Heights, and that's where I was raised at, on the
Okay.
west side of the state.
All right. Where'd you go to school?
Muskegon Heights High School.
Okay. All right. Do you have sisters and brothers?
I have two brothers. I'm
No
the oldest
sisters.
of three.
No sisters?
No.
Okay. Are you guys close?
Yes, for men.
For me, what does that
Yeah.
mean for men? What does
We were typical boys.
I don't
Um,
know because I'm not a boy. I don't. What does
So
that mean?
so boys wrestle. It wasn't until I had a daughter to see the difference between a boy and a girl and how the emotional ties are and the motherly. And boys show love by pushing each other around, putting each other in headlocks.
Okay.
So that's the difference.
Oh, oh, okay. So now, as grown men, you don't still put each other in the headlock or whatever. You
No, we still do that, but we learn to, actually hug each other every now and then too. So we have matured.
do you keep in contact? Do you go over each other's house or you call her? Y'all always getting together and stuff like that.
We have gotten better about that with age. I think as when you're real young, you're running around so much trying to work and stuff like that. You go in separate ways. One of my brothers lives in Farmington Hills. The other one lives in Cincinnati. We all are married. We all have kids. So we've all had our own separate lives. And so now that we're getting older, we have slowed down a little bit. And with the advent of technology, we text each other all the time, which I think is funny because we didn't talk a lot on the phone per se. But with text, and we have a group text, we can talk all the time about the silliest stuff, which makes it a better family.
Okay. All right. So what did your parents do for a living? You came from Mississippi. Did they do like everybody else, come up here because the auto industry was paying more money? And
Absolutely. My father was working in a small factory down in Jackson, Mississippi. My mother was just working at different jobs. She came up here and she worked for the school district for about 35 years as a paralegal or teacher aide. My
Mhm.
father came up and got it. He worked for CWC Textron. He moved up through the ranks and he was actually the plant manager at the
Okay.
Muskegon location. So my mother in the school system, my dad was in the auto industry.
And you didn't want to follow in your dad's footsteps?
Oh no, that's real work. Nope, nope, that's too hard.
Oh, he came home and let you know that this is not an easy job physically. And okay.
Like we always used to say, you're not about this life. He would come
Okay.
home and be dirty, tired, burned, exhausted, and we had a chance to get a couple of tours of the factory when he worked there and stuff like that. And at an early age, I think neither one of my brothers worked in the foundries or plants, and we
Mhm.
learned that we decided that what we were that wasn't our way of life, our direction.
Okay. So which one of your parents are you closest to?
Hmm. My it depends who you ask. If you ask me, I think I'm closest to both of them. there's no difference. But
Okay.
my brothers will say I'm closer to my dad, and but I'm closer to. There's no difference, I don't think. But my
Are they
brothers
trying
would say
are they trying to say you the favorite?
I am the favorite. So we
Oh,
argue about that. I am. I am.
the, they're the oldest and you're the favorite?
Yes, I know it
Well,
sounds funny, but my brother, we all are the favorite. They
okay.
give us a sense of you're the most important person that's in front of their face at this time.
Okay. All right. So when you spent time with your dad, what types of activities did you guys do?
That's gonna be interesting. We didn't do anything. We just, back then it was a whole different program. He went to work, worked hard. When he came home, he worked afternoons from like he was when we got older, he was in management. So he was the afternoon shift plant superintendent. So he would leave work at like 1, we would be in school. He wouldn't get home to midnight. He would come home every day for lunch, and at 6:30 on the nose, he would pull up in the driveway, eat lunch, and go back to work. At 6:30, we were required to be back home, like roll call, to make sure we were still alive. So he didn't hunt, fish, or do any of that stuff. Um, we didn't went on vacations every now and then, but it wasn't a whole bunch of like father son time. It wasn't until later now that we got, as I got to be an old man, that we spend a lot of time. We talk, we have conversations, but as far as like, hey, do you guys go fishing together? No, we don't go
Right.
fishing together. No,
No.
no, no.
So who's responsible for you having that real sense of self-esteem and your identity, knowing, like you say, your parents say you're the most important, you're the favorite at this time because you're in front of my face?
My mother and father, both of them. My mother made sure that we were loved, and I would say she doted over us all the time. My dad doted over us to a certain degree, but he held us to a certain standard of, hey, this is tough. The world is tough out here. Nobody's going to be running around hugging and rubbing on you all day and patting you on the back. You need to pick up the program. When he would come home at 6:30, he would
Mm-hmm.
ask us what we're doing in school, how has school been doing. He's trying to eat his lunch and then get back to work. And that was the pace that we grew up at. We would be outside playing in the street and stuff like that. At 6:30, you see his car come home. You would run over there, check in. He would ask you, how you doing? What's going on in school? How's life? He would finish his lunch and go back to work. And then
Wow.
we would, sit around on Saturdays and Sundays and, have conversations, or Friday nights, or not even Saturdays and Sundays, because he
Mhm.
worked afternoons Monday through Friday. So, but as I got older, they came to any graduation I had, any program that we were in. As we got older, they did a lot of that. But my mom loved on us like unconditional. We were, I would say, spoiled, rotten kids. We couldn't get dirty. We couldn't, they used to tease us that she made sure we stayed looking good all the time.
Hmm.
So
All right. So when you guys are talking, your dad is allowing you to say whatever you're feeling or what you're thinking, or when you like something happened at school, you can just tell your side of it, and he doesn't stop you or say, "Boy, don't say that," or any of that.
my parents came from the South. So you kind of knew what to say and what not to say. And
Okay.
so he would ask us what's going on in school, and drill down to what any issues that we were having. But he always emphasized that, hey, you got to make decisions for yourself, and you can't let nobody make decisions for you. And you cannot use your head. You got to use your head for more than a hat rack. He has some fantastic sayings, and I always tease him. I should write these sayings down because they stuck with me throughout life. If you
Right.
don't think for yourself, somebody else gonna think for you. And the worst
Mhm.
thing to do is get yourself in trouble and find out somebody else made the decision about you robbing a store. He said, if you're gonna rob a store, make it your decision, and then we'll deal with that. But the worst thing you can do is come back to him and tell him that you went alone because somebody asked you to do it, and that was unacceptable. I mean,
Right.
there was some certain ground rules that we just knew. You didn't come home, excuse me, and say somebody else told me to do that, because that was unacceptable. You still will get in trouble, but to
Mhm.
say that Sarah convinced me to do that, that was unacceptable.
Wow. Okay, that's good. All right. My experience has been that most guys, they don't cry, they believe that you have to be a strong man, you have to be strong and man up, and you can't ask for help. But um were you able to just tell your dad, what you're feeling And was he affectionate toward you guys, or did he just knock you upside the head, or did he say that was a good job? If you came home with all A's or something like that.
It was all of that, I was telling my daughter about you today, and she was laughing. We weren't walking around crying all the time,
Right.
but if you had an issue, you knew you could take it to him, and we would talk through it. And he allowed us to um, um, express ourselves to a certain degree. That is still a Southern old man. That's what I call him. He's a Southern old man, and so he didn't. Nobody's walking around crying every 15 seconds. That's what we
Right.
laugh about. But if I watch a movie, yeah, I might cry a little bit, but I'm not crying all the time. But
Okay.
he did allow us to express ourselves. And I guess that would be, he did allow us to express ourselves, but he had a certain standard that he expected us to be at, and
Mhm.
that's a special conversation, not a combination, a special combination. I can't explain it no better than that.
Okay. I just know you're open and honest about your feelings and who you are as a man, a father, and a husband.
Mhm.
So that's the mindset that you got from your dad, that
Yeah.
who you, if you feel a certain way, you just speak it. If you don't like something, and you will say no.
Yep.
And another thing I like about you, you don't worry about people's opinion of you.
That's one of the things that um, him and my mom both. I mean, they were two peas in a pod when it came to that. Like I go back to, you don't let nobody else. If nobody else loves you, you got love here. And I
Right.
guess they did say that. That was the feeling in the house. We don't care what's going on in the street. You come back home, that's a safe place, and you will be loved here. And there's a high standard set once you hear. But they did. It was. Um, you could get in trouble, and like you said, I mean, just saying, whatever you do, I got you the first time.
Right.
Whatever you do, I got you the first time. But after that, we're gonna have to see what made that decision. And so
Mhm.
we would always have those deep couch conversations. And he made us feel, I won't say us, he made me feel, or that's the way I had to be in my own. I've always had that um, being comfortable in my own skin. And I guess that's self-confidence, because they always had my back. We could try anything. And then if
Mhm.
you didn't, once you tried it, you had to stick with it. There ain't no quitting, but you could try anything that you wanted to do. If you wanted to, wherever I wanted to go, whatever program I signed up for, they were backing me 100%. But I had to stick with it, and that taught you not to quit.
Okay.
And then he taught us that at an early age.
Mm, okay. So by you being the oldest, did you think you had to, or were you told to take care of your younger brothers?
I was I was told to. I was told to and thought I had to, and then that
Mhm.
was expected. Back then they could leave us at home at an early age, and you were responsible. You are your brother's keeper. You are responsible for what those boys do, and they held us to that standard. And my middle brother was responsible for the baby brother, and the baby brother was responsible. And he would call us in and say, "Which one of you guys? What thought process?" He would always ask those deep questions. Who thought of this? You sitting here didn't say something to somebody. What's going on? And so that grew. And as we got older and older, we would have those conversations about, what were you thinking? Don't let nobody else think for you. You got to think for yourself. And he would reiterate that time and time again, and about that kind of stuff. And that you are a young man. You will be held accountable.
So no following the crowd just because they
Oh
said it was
no,
that. Yeah.
that, like
Mhm.
I said, I have a best friend, and he used to tell us, and he told me, if you go out here, don't come back and tell me you did it because Sarah did it. That was unacceptable. That was not even that couldn't even come out your mouth.
Wow. So did you have to deal with any peer pressure or bullying at all when you were
I,
young?
you think about bullying now and bullying back then. I don't know if it's two different things, but we always had big. It was a family. So whether your brother's bullying you, picking on you, or pushing you around, I, yeah, to a certain degree. Nothing that traumatized me that I was worried about it.
But I mean,
But
like
you did.
outside when you were at school, like a guy taking your lunch money or
No,
something.
no,
You
no.
never had to deal with that.
I mean, we had, yeah, not really. When I see it today, I had none of that. we did have the guys who were the bad guys in school that you knew not to mess with. And I kind of just stayed away from that crowd and minded my own business and just moved forward. I never, when, I never had nobody just come and push me down and take my lunch money and nothing like that. But you'd have guys have conversations and stuff like that or say something to you. But I never had nobody just come in and push me off my bike or nothing like that.
So you said you have a best friend when you were a child. Do you still have friends from your childhood? Do you have some of the same friends?
Yes. I have a bunch of them. One of my best friends, we walked to school together, and that could be, and he's a little different, but we walked to school together in kindergarten, and we graduated together in high school. And I thought that was such a we walked the first day of school together, and we walked back across the stage together, and we went to school every single day together. I mean, literally every morning he would go by my house, pick me up. I would go to school. When he started driving, I would walk to his house, get in this car, go to school. When I got in my car, I would pick him up. We were best friends and we still are best friends.
Wow. And you say you have several
friends that from high school and elementary school. Yes, from being from such a small town, I still got guys that I grew up with. But yeah, one best friend that from day one. But I have different stages in my life. I have best friends from my military days. I got best friends from my state police days. I got best friends, which I consider you one of my best friends from DPD days, and Robert West, and all those other guys, and Shadow, and so I have a group of best friends. But yes, I have friends from span my whole life in different cycles.
So you say you end up getting you a car when you were in school and stuff. Did you have a job or did your parents buy you a car? How did you get a car to be traveling?
Like I said, I had full support, and my mom and dad took excellent care of us. We were spoiled rotten. That's how I felt that love. My dad bought me a car at 16.
Wow. So what was the money management lesson that you learned since he bought you a car?
None. I told you my dad was a plant manager and my mom was a paralegal. And my dad paid $100 for the car. And a quick story, he bought me a car. My first car was a 69 Ford Galaxy 500. And it was 4-door. It was green. Big Galaxy 500.
I had a 70, so I know.
So I got it when I was 16.
Okay.
And I pouted because it was too big. And I thought I wanted something nice. And he spent $100 for that car. And he came up to me and said, he said, here's $100. You can do what you want, but this is when we get you the car. So he gets me the car. So I pout all summer about my car. I'm walking around, not really happy, kind of like, well, okay, I just got a car. Okay. A spoiled brat.
Yes. Most kids would be so grateful.
No. Told you I was spoiled. And so I get to school my junior year, and I just get my license 16 or whatever. And I pull into the parking lot, and I'm the only guy or one of the few people with a car. And I was like, I guess I got it pretty good. Okay, I'm happy. But I never forget that. I never forget that.
That's too funny. That's too funny. So if you didn't have money management skills, that means every week or every 2 weeks, you're like, Dad, I need some gas. And
no, my mom gave me gas money. Once I told you I was spoiled, but I did work. I cut grass in the neighborhood. I had a lady that I was her. I cut grass, did hedges. I was a handyman. And then I got a job at Junior Achievement cleaning up the office buildings. I worked in the summertime, but there was no money management, to be honest. If I needed money, I just went to my mom and said, hey, I need some gas money. She'd be like, okay, here you go. We had to do chores around the house. Okay. We had to cut the grass. We got allowances. We got allowance every time my dad got paid. We had a set allowance for 25 years. I don't know any kids. We used to laugh about it because I don't remember anybody else saying they were getting allowances. But we literally got got cash every time my dad got paid. And I was still working on the outside, and he still was giving me allowances. It wasn't a lot, but it was a lot.
You were spoiled.
Spoiled, right.
So what do you currently do for a living, young man?
I am now the chief of police of the city of North Muskegon on the west side of the state.
Okay. And what's your background in law enforcement? Because just can't be the chief. You just can't show up and knock on the door and
No
say,
junk.
I want to be the I want to be the chief. So where did you start off with this career in law enforcement or whatever? Where did you start off after you got out of high school?
Well, my full background, I thought I got out of high school. I went in the military. And when I joined the military, I was stationed out in New Jersey, where I met my wife. And I stayed 5 years out in New Jersey. I came back. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a police officer. I applied for a local police department. I had taken the civil service test one time. I'm a good test taker. So, and I say that. So when I came back to become a local police officer, the chief of police said, I got out the military, and he says, hey, the school starts in 4 months. I was like, I need a job today. He was like, well, I'm sorry. In about a month, because I had taken the civil service test, the state police gave me a letter that I had passed, and not only passed well, and they wanted me to have a job, and they started the process. And I said, hey, should I take this job? And he said, yes. And that's how I got to the state police, because I always wanted to be a local police officer. And he told me, no, son, you want to go to the state police. Best move ever, best agency, in the one of the best agencies in the country.
One of the best.
One of the best agencies in the country, and I'm very proud to have worked for the Michigan State Police. I did 29 years at the state police. I worked everything from violent crimes with you to homicide to undercover narcotics to gaming. I worked the casino investigations. I taught at the training academy, and I was a road trooper, which is probably one of the best jobs in the state police. So I came up through the ranks and did that. Had a few schools alongside, went back to college, got a degree. And I applied back in 18 to be the chief of police of the city of North Muskegon, which is the finest police department with less than 10 people in the state of Michigan.
It's so crazy. So your mom and dad, I know they must be very proud of your career and proud of you.
Yes, they are. I can say that. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Okay. So you say you met your wife in Jersey when you were in the service. Did you always want to get married and have children?
I didn't even thought that far. I am truly blessed. When I went in the military out of high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do or which way I wanted to go. This is one of those father-son conversations that my dad had. I remember sitting in the kitchen saying, hey, should I go in the military or should I go to college? I had a full ride to go to, I had a scholarship to go to to community college. And he says, this is a decision that you got to make, because when you wake up at 2:00 in the morning and you hate wherever you're at, I don't want you to say that I made you take that choice. And I was like, wow, that's some great freaking advice for a 17-year-old kid. And which was the best advice, because I went in the military and at 3:00 in the morning, I was like, what am I doing out here? And I would have blamed him.
Yes.
And so, and I say that he's done that kind of stuff for me to make me comfortable to have that conversation that I didn't have insight at the time. But luckily, I've always had the ability not to get burned and to listen a little bit and take good advice. So that being said, I joined the military at 18, went active duty, did 5 years out in McGuire, at McGuire Air Force Base. That's where I met my wife. We were working. We were actually working on the base. And
she's in the military.
And she was in the military also. And they said, hey, she's down there working. You might want to go check her out. I went down there, and then she fell in love with me. She gonna kill me.
Okay, she fell in love with you. Love at first sight, right?
I walked down there. She fell in love. Next thing you know, we've been married for about 30-something years, 38, almost 40 years.
Okay. How many children do you guys have?
We have 2. We have a boy and a girl and a boy. Shatana, she's the oldest, and Edward, or the second, or BJ, he's the baby. He's the youngest. Not a baby. He's a grown man.
Did you want more?
I was happy with 1. I think I was selfish or something. And she was like, we need to have 2. And I was like, no. And then we had my son, Edward. So, yeah.
And no regrets about that, I'm sure.
None.
Okay. So another thing that I found out about in doing my research was that healthy children are made aware that happiness comes from within.
Yeah,
Although it's nice to have close friendships, they don't have to be a hero or rescue their friends from drama that their friends create.
yeah.
They can remain drama free. So, when your son was growing up, did he understand that if he didn't want to do something, he didn't have to just to do it just to keep a friend? He didn't have to go along to get along. Did you make that clear to him?
Absolutely. I don't know where that's a perfect transition because my dad also said the same thing. You don't have to go along to get along and kind of transcend it. When we came to Detroit, so I'm originally from Muskegon, my wife's from Jersey. We come to Detroit. We don't have a lot of family, so it was on us to. We didn't have no uncles, nieces, nephews, somebody to help us raise our kids. So
Right.
we really instilled in them. It's us against the world. If nobody else love you, your mom and daddy love you,
Mhm.
and screw everybody else. You get love here. And so, and one of those points that you just talked about was he played football, and he was very good at football, very, very good at football. And I remember telling him because people were telling him how good he was in football, and I was always about the education. And I said, man, let me tell you something right now. I said, I don't care nothing about football. All I do is love you. Now, whatever you in, I'm in. I said, but don't think I'm behind you just because you successful in football. I wanted him to know, and I remember telling him that specifically is that I love you regardless of this football stuff or whatever. I love you for you. So if you don't ever want to play again, you ain't got to play no more. But if we in, we're gonna be all in. And he was
Okay.
all in.
All right. So that's one of the ways that you built up his self-esteem and kept him, realizing that he didn't need other people, even though they were praising him and stuff like that. You
Yep.
let him know that, you got his back.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And him and my daughter both, that was one of the things. And I say, being raised with all boys, then having a daughter, seeing how emotional, how different she was than how I was. And she wore a heart on the sleeve sometimes. And I would be like, hey, baby girl, it's just if nobody else love you, daddy do. If nobody else love you, daddy do.
mhm,
And we kind of passed that along. Where BJ didn't have those kind of cold, but she was more like me in her, more in her feelings. She was in her feelings. BJ is a very different type of thinker. He's a deep couch thinker. She's more like me, verbal, um, but he was more like, okay, I can deal with. I don't have to deal with you. And she was more into her friends. And I mean, even at an early age of the daycare, she came home one time and told me that the kids didn't like her because she was going to a daycare in Ferndale, and I wasn't allowed to go pick her up because I was so pissed. But I was like, even I remember having that such conversation with her. She's in kindergarten, and I was like, I don't care if nobody else love you, girl. I love you, And
mhm.
so that though it's a couple of those moments, when we talk that really stuck in my head that I guess now transcends to where she is because she's as as challenged as I am.
Now, you said that your daughter is more verbal.
Yeah,
So, your son, how is he when he's expressing himself,
he's
as
very matter of fact. If he like it, he'll tell you. And if he don't like it, don't won't tell you. Shatana can word finesse you a little bit better. You know, BJ's kind of cold, and if he likes you, he likes you. And if he don't, he don't. He'll tell you he don't. Shatana would be like, well, I kind of like you a little bit. BJ be like, nope, we're not even talking. Have a nice day.
so, uh, being, being that he will speak up on what he doesn't agree with, would you consider that a leadership characteristic that you instilled in him?
Absolutely. And I would say he was very, I'm very proud of my kids.
Mhm.
BJ played football at Brother Rice and got a football scholarship to play football at Wayne State. He was very good at Wayne State. His second year, he was named captain of the football team. He's actually in the Hall of Fame at Wayne State right now. Go Warriors! And had a chance to go to the NFL. Um, And he was picked to be captain because of those attributes, because he could tell somebody no, because he knew what was right and wrong, because he would get up in the morning. You don't have to, you never had to wake him up to go to work. You never have to worry about him being where he's supposed to be. He exudes those. It's funny because somebody asked me, how did I raise my kids? And I said, I raised the kids the way I was raised, not the way I wanted to be raised. And I think a lot of times these parents raise kids the way they wanted to be raised. They let the kids do what they want to do because that's what they wanted to do when they were 17. I didn't do that. I raised my kids the way I thought they should be raised and the way I was raised. And as a result, BJ and Shatana, and I say BJ Edward II and Shatana have picked up those attributes and those traits. And it's funny because now Shatana has 3 kids, and I see her doing the exact same thing. And I see, my dad would tell me, and I would tell my kid, you go get up and go out here and go to work. And when you come back, that kid's going to be doing the exact same thing that you're doing when you left to go to work. And I remember my dad telling me that. I remember telling my son that when he was in 8th grade playing football. Hey, that kid out there playing football, he's going to be out here when you get back. And you need to get it in. And also leading by example, going to work every day. And, they can see that because I stayed in the reserves for 33 years. They can see that commitment to working and being a good citizen, being a good father, being a good dad, being a Christian guy, trying to do the right thing for the right reasons. And being in the military, I got taught a lot of that stuff too, by being a leader. And I came home and actually tried to lead that type of life. And hopefully, and I think those kids, when I look back at them, they picked up on some of that good stuff that I was trying to give them.
So he's an adult now. So he's got out of Wayne State. You said he worked for Wayne. He went to Wayne State.
He graduated from Wayne State, played football at Wayne State for 5 years. He worked for Wayne State Police Department for.
And now what is he doing?
He's an ATF agent, and he's stationed in DC.
All right. So is he dating and talking about marriage?
Not yet. I think he's dating a little bit. Once again, I don't get into their personal lives. I kind of keep you handle yourself. But he's dating. He's a eligible bachelor, I would say.
Does he want kids? Did he talk about he want children or anything like that?
Right now, he says my grandkids are the best birth control they could ever be. So he loves his grandkids. He loves his nieces and nephew to death, and he's good. So I'm sure he's going to want kids because I think he would be an excellent father because he has that heart. When you look at men that have that compassion and empathy, he has all the attributes to be an excellent father. So I think one day he'll find somebody. He'll get lucky like me and find somebody to meet up with and have a good life.
Okay. So how do you think being open and honest with your feelings at home helped them to become a member of law enforcement? How do you think that helped him?
I don't know if I'm gonna say that. When I came home, and I don't know if I'm being open and honest. I don't know if that really, because we didn't talk about police work.
No, I just mean when you disagreed or something happened and you just spoke about it. Like if you were driving down the street, somebody cut in front of you. I mean, you always said what was needed to be said.
I think that just they saw me as being real and not being a phony or being who I portrayed to be. You know what I'm saying? And I say, you know what I'm saying? I think being authentic. Okay. Seeing that I wasn't speaking one way in public and being another way in private.
Gotcha.
They saw the guy, it's shocking. People would see me at work and then would see me with my kids and say, man, you the same guy. Absolutely. And literally, I have had people say that. You said that to your kids? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's not, I don't have a professional. I'm just me. I don't have that professional side. I am professional, but I'm just me. I'm just Deuce all the time. And Deuce is Deuce. I don't have that one side that's over here and the other side. You come home and you totally different. What they say, you at work, you're the nicest guy in the world, and you come home and you're a butthead at home. I'm just that.
Kick your dog and
yeah.
So this authenticity characteristic that you have, don't you believe that all men needed to become better dads, or do you feel that way? You know, to be the same way all the time, so that
I
their
think,
kids don't know who they talking to. You know.
yeah, yeah. I think that's 100%, because if your kids and kids, I say kids, or your children, I guess that's a better word, see you in public and they see how you act at home. And
Mhm.
so if there's a contrast in that, then they kind of question what's going on. And we all know, through seeing other people's examples, when they have this beautiful professional life and then their home life is a wreck. You
Right.
talk to their kids, or it used to, it was interesting to me to hear people say they didn't want to go home. They didn't like going home. Um, and I used to be like, wow, I enjoy my family. We
Mhm.
enjoy each other's company. We enjoy going on vacations together. I'm not just going on vacation, um, to take them somewhere. We're going to, have a good time. And even now, you see that. And the older I get, the more I can appreciate that. Um, I always wanted, just like, I tell people, when you at work and who you are. I always wanted to be the guy, whether I'm in the military, or state police, that if you walk across the street, that if you see me and I don't see you, that you run up to me and tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey,
Mhm.
Deuce, how you doing?" And I think I kind of try to live that. Not everybody likes me. I don't really care, but I am who I am. And if you're in my circle, if you ride with me, you ride with me, and you're gonna get honest, feedback. I'm gonna tell you what I think, and if I got it, you got it. And if you're doing something stupid, I'm gonna tell you doing something stupid. But man, if you need that hug, I'll give you that hug. But that's how I kind of think that everybody would be better, but everybody doesn't have that in them. As you get older, you see people, have different what they think, um, how you're supposed to act, or what your, we know what a police officer, how they should. One of the biggest compliments I used to get, at least this is the way I took it, is that I would be someplace and they would be like, "Man, I didn't even know you was the police." That
Good.
was one of the biggest compliments I used to get, because
Mhm.
I don't live, I'm not a police. That just happens to be the job I hold. Colin Powell once said, um, "Never get so attached to your position so that when your position goes, you go." And I
Right.
kind of try to live by some of those golden rules, that he said and other great people have said. I always took
Mhm.
that to heart and thought it was interesting.
So all this philosophy has been passed along to your son, and so now you are a proud dad, the way your dad was proud of you, or do you just
Yes,
express it even more? Can you contain yourself when you look back? Maybe 10 years ago, did you see it being this?
I had
this
no clue. I had no
really?
clue. And people ask me, I'm truly blessed, and I work with some great people, and we just had our know, one of the guys, one of the Fed guys we were talking about, and you look back on the accomplishments. We were so busy working
Right.
and just doing the thing that I never took time to smell the roses. And being deployed in the military, you'd go places, do stuff, and I had to learn to slow down to say, man, this is pretty cool. Even with like my MSP guys, and I'll say the violent crime MSP side of the house, the violent crime guys, and we literally would have to say, this is pretty sweet. We might want to stop and smell the roses. And I've learned that over time, but I wasn't, because that's not what I do it for. That's not what I think about. I'm
Right.
just trying to get it done. I'm just trying to provide for my family. I'm just trying to make sure I have food on the table. Even being retired, I still have that same, drive. I'm just trying to put food on my table and trying to take care of my grandkids and do stuff. I'm not, by the grace of God, it is, um, um, a good side. You know what I'm saying? Because I would hate if I was on the wrong side of the law or the wrong side of doing stuff. But I
Mhm.
just been focusing and stay focused on doing the right thing for the right reason. Because then everything will work out.
So now your son, him going from a local police department to a federal agency, Have you told him about smelling the road, taking the time to enjoy what he's doing? Have you asked him to slow down? And it is a big step, because
Hmm.
that prestigious. I mean, being a federal agent, whichever agency you're a part of, it kind of like makes your head get big and stuff. So, do you have to talk to him about uh, staying grounded and authentic?
My wife does a good job of keeping us grounded, and she does a great job. Even my daughter, um, we don't, you don't get caught up in titles or what you do. That doesn't make who you are. And I think that's one of the things that has, like I said, people coming to me say like, man, you the chief? I'll be like, yep, yep, yep. But I've had conversations when he was playing football, and then he's the captain of the football team. They went to the national championship game. People kissing his butt, running behind him, and and my wife and my daughter, we don't care, and they'll tell you in a heartbeat what you do out Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. When you come home, I'm still pop. I'm still daddy. My wife tells me check that. This is one great story. So I'm trooping on the road, and you talk to people on the road, and you're barking orders, and you're doing all this stuff. And I come home, and I said something to my son. I'm home on lunch, and I walked in and I said something. She was like, "You can leave that trooper stuff out there on the street. This is your son. You don't talk to him like that." And that kind of checked me, because I'm hugging and kissing on him and stuff, but I must have not had that type of where and I don't know what it was, but I remember her saying, "Oh, you can leave that trooper. You can leave that trooper." She don't cuss. You can leave that trooper crap out at the front door. That's your son. And I don't know if I hugged him or did whatever, but she checked that, and we have checked each other. Whether BJ is an All-American on national TV, it was like, dude, you better get over here and hug your mom and say something to her. So we have, and like Shatana, we check each other constantly, and it's a joke. It don't matter what title you got or what job you got. And that's why we still call him BJ. You still BJ. You
Right.
ain't nobody. It kind of keeps you humble a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to let you know that the City of North Muskegon Police Department is currently hiring one full-time police officer and one part-time police officer. One of the best departments that you can work for in the state of Michigan, where I happen to be the chief of police. Also, if you're interested in law enforcement, all local police departments are hiring at this time. If you are interested, all you have to do is go to the state of Michigan website, click on MCOs, which is the Michigan Council of Law Enforcement Executives, and then click on the link, and they'll show you all the jobs that are out there available. This is one of the best times to be in law enforcement, regardless of what somebody else will say. I think the time to get into a profession is when it's most challenged. We are not highly challenged right now, but we do have our challenges. There are police departments, there are city, local, tribal, state, and federal law enforcement opportunities out there for you. So if you're looking to listen and you want to make a difference in the community and you want to have a positive impact on somebody's life, please apply. Once again, North Muskegon is hiring, which is the best police department on the west side of the state with less than 10 people. Thank you and have a great day.
Welcome back, everyone, to Real Dad Speak. We're continuing our conversation with Ed Vivarette, the chief of police at North Muskegon Heights.
Nope.
Okay, former state trooper. And
North Muskegon Police Department.
Oh, North Muskegon Police Department. I'm sorry. All right, Chief. We have gotten to the part of the show where I have either a final 5 questions or a fill in the blank. So I start off with number 1. What do you think is important for your kids to know about you as a man and as their dad?
I would say something simple, that I'm a good guy. I would hope my kids know that. I believe in the Lord. I'm a God-fearing man, and that I got their back. And I just told my daughter the other day, know that I got your back.
Okay. Number 2, when your kids were children, was it easier being their dad or a state trooper?
was way easy being a state trooper. There's rules and guidelines to being a state trooper.
Mhm.
There's no rules to being a dad. There's no book. There's no official orders. There's no guidance. There's no, you refer to page 17 when you need to arrest somebody. When your daughter's doing something she ain't supposed to do, or she told you where she's going to be at, how do you punish her or support her? Or she tells she's going back to school. She's not going to Michigan. She's going to Michigan State because she likes to party. Well, how do you do that? That's no book. So it's way easier being a state trooper.
Okay. Number 3, did you try to apply the lessons you learned from raising your daughter on your son? And what did you find out?
That it don't work. That they're two different kids totally. That it just doesn't work. You could have 5 kids and you have to be flexible in the way that you raise them, because not everybody's the same. So they each require their own separate amount of love. My daughter, we laugh about it. She likes to chit chat. So she'll call me and talk about nothing, which drives me crazy. And she just wants the chit chat. And she's not going to have if she can't chit chat with her dad. My son will call me once, and that's how I am. He'd be like, "What up? You see the Lions game? Yup. They suck. Yup. Talk to you later. Bye. Love you." That is our conversation. And then I hear from him again in a week, and I call him back. "You see Lions won? Yup. You watching the next week? Yup. Love you. Talking to you later."
Okay. Number 4, you're a grandfather now. How does being a granddad compare to being a dad?
It is the best thing in the world. And I got to be careful when I say that kind of stuff. But it is cool as heck because I get to spoil the crap out of them, and I'm not responsible for raising them. Me and my daughter get into all the time. Well, that's not right. You didn't do us like that. That ain't my job to raise them. My job is to do what I want to do. I'm grown now. So I can spoil them all the time. And my babies get ice cream every single time I see them. And that's all they care about. And if it's too much, not enough, I got banned from the house. I'm not allowed over there after 7 o'clock.
What do you mean you got banned from the house?
I'm not allowed to go to her house at 7 o'clock with a pocket full of candy and give them to them.
Oh, because they're going to be up all night bouncing off the walls.
I didn't know that.
You don't care.
And don't care.
All right. So final question, number 5. What's your legacy?
Ooh. That's deep. I don't know. I hope it's just being a good guy. I hope it's just being a good guy, somebody that you could count on, somebody that loved hard, was fair, that tried, that made a difference, and that loved his wife, family, kids. And if you're in my circle, you're in my circle. And that's, a ride or die. I'll do whatever I can for you. So
I like that. Well, thank you, Chief, for coming on to the show and letting us know about emotional health, being, stern, self-sufficient, not a follower, all that good stuff, and raising your son to be that same way. For him to go from a local agency to a federal agency, and because they have a lot of background checks and all that stuff, so he stayed on the straight and narrow, no trouble, no issues whatsoever. That's a good thing.
Well, thank you. I wanted to say I was shocked and honored, and I have been thoroughly impressed with your podcast. And you're an outstanding person. Crazy as all get out, but you my Sarah. And I just want to say I appreciate you. And I am so honored that you would even ask for me to come on your podcast.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, everybody. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Real Dad Speak Podcast. Thank you, and we will see you next time. Comes out YouTube 7 o'clock every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. Peace.